Hello everyone, I'm LCSO524, or as my channel name is, Project X, and I am with the Grand Theft Auto Sheriff's Association clan, which is basically a clan that role plays as law enforcement in both Grand Theft Auto 4 and Grand Theft Auto 5. Um, to start with, you might be wondering what I'm recording the games with. I'm using Shadowplay by NVIDIA, so for all of those of you who have a NVIDIA GeForce or GTX card, which I believe is a 500 series and above, or a 550 series and above, you can use Shadowplay as they are supported by it. What's awesome about Shadowplay is you can, of course, adjust your quality and the audio that you're recording, the bit rate, and as well as when you're recording in the game, you might get 1 frames drop per second, if that. It's very minimal and it's very great for video recording. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and go into that with the whole video and what's going on. So this is the web page for us, and what I'm going to go ahead and cover today is the handling lines and why it's kind of important to make sure everything is cross-referenced per se properly, so that when you go and add new cars or a whole new car pack to your to replace your previous car pack, everything will work properly. So I'm going to go ahead and cover that information, as well as I'm going to cover the ELS light system with the pack that we have now, because not everybody seems, or at least to my knowledge, seems to understand how you can use the different light systems to make everything more realistic, and I guess you could say more fun. And I'll also cover just briefly is that I do use a Ice Answer 2.1 as well as other couple of graphics mods, which actually make the game look great, but they are very not resourceful heavy. They are not heavy on the graphics card as far as resources, so you get a pretty substantial, frame rate for the amount of graphics mods you have. So I'm going to go ahead and go into this. Go ahead and move this off to the side of the page here, and I'm going to go ahead and cover the handling lines first. Sorry, I'm just pausing because I got a emergency alert on my phone of an Amber Alert of somebody who I guess was kidnapped. That's interesting. You're getting that Amber Alert across the cell phone network. Speaking of law enforcement. So anyway, with that said, yeah, sorry for that pause. I just heard my phone go off and it just kind of surprised me. To start the handling lines, I'm going to go ahead and open up all 3 of these. Go ahead and open this up. And for when you open up the Open4, there's another program, I don't remember the name of it. You're going to go under PC, Models, CD Images, Vehicle Images. And in here, when you go down here, I'm going to say, let's say the FBI. Actually, no, we're going to go Police 2, because I believe that's the Crown Vic. So when you're replacing your car pack, usually if it's a skin, usually your slots and all that stuff stays the same. But if you're going to be changing cars around to different slots, if you're going to be, just adding a whole new car pack entirely, what's going to be changing, aside from just the WFT file, is also the WTD file, which is basically the, as you could say, the layout template for all of your lights, your interior, all that stuff. So you have all that stuff that basically correlates for whatever. Why is that burger shot? I have no idea. Maybe that's used for the red light color. I'm not sure. So, of course, all this is for the car. So when you're switching stuff around, like let's say if you want to apply like a new skin, like if you want to apply a new fragment object, the texture directory also has to be has to basically correspond with the fragment object. So with that said, when you change that around, so let's say if I was to put like a Tahoe or like a Pole Patriot into Police 2, the X and Y axis, the whole everything, the dimension of the vehicle, all that will also be affected by the handling. So when you go over to the handling over here, it'll all change. Like you get your center of gravity. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna open up our handling line. So I'm in the directory here, and I'm going to go ahead and open up Please too. So you'll see in here you have your center of mass. So basically, depending on the build of the vehicle, usually if you get like a Crown Vic from any pack from LCPDFR online, wherever you download it from, the center of mass I think is going to generally apply the same at an optimal negative 0.45 for the center of mass. Now if you have a truck, I think with that kind of center of mass on there, I could be wrong, but it might start swaying like a boat, or it'll be too top heavy, because of course the entire layout of an SUV or a truck is different than that of a car, so its profile has to be set different. So you make sure that all this stuff matches up to the type of car that's being driven. So for each of these cars, they each have their own. Obviously, if it's a bigger car, like if you have a, let me see, if you have a Chevy, not a Malibu, if you have a Chevy Caprice, not a Caprice, I'm trying to think of it, Impala. If you have an Impala and then you have a Taurus, which they're obviously a Taurus is bigger in real life, and it's in general than a Impala. So you can't necessarily, if you want optimal handling results, you cannot have the same overall configuration layout with those two vehicles. It's got to be different, and that also correlates into flags. If you were to put like an Impala into a Caprice slot, or SUV into a car slot, basically, you need to make sure that all this stuff is correlating. So what seems to be an optimal fit for cars is that the first digit, you get like 6 digits, usually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then you have a numerical value value per each digit. So for, of course, the car, it's set to low. The second digit is ABS alternate standard. I don't know why it's standard. I mean, you just think you just have ABS. 0, 0 is by default. You don't need any of these, but I guess since you have to have a fifth and sixth digit, you put a default 0 and 0 for the third and fourth digit. And then for the fifth digit, the actual front no tilt, that is actually set to 1. So what that does is the sway bar from side to side, it creates a stiffer chassis, so therefore the cars do roll less. Now I'm going to go ahead and pull up a Pull Patriot. Not a Pull Patriot. I'm going to pull up a P Stockade. Now the thing is that if you have anything that has a Stockade, a P Stockade, N Stockade, or Stockade, they all have the same handling line. So I do need to load up the Stockade. And it's roughly, even that's kind of the same. This just seems to be an optimal setting for all the vehicles, just to prevent large amounts of sway. So I'm gonna go ahead and close that. I'm just gonna go more in depth with let me see, I did open up the vehicle IDE editor. In regards to the default IDE editor, you can also open up the IDE file with Notepad as well if you want to, but you just need to note that per each vehicle, the wheel radius of both the front and back, the animations for the vehicle, the vehicle that it shares, within the game entirely, is that it's all going to correspond and overall relate to how the car is going to overall handle, or SUV. So what I ended up doing was, I'm not going to worry about the screenshots. I do have the screenshots here of this per each vehicle. So here's the Caprice, how it's supposed to be, and of course you also have the flags. I ended up corresponding back to the old flags, not the old flags. There's flags in a law enforcement pack. Let me see if I can pull it over here. There's a law enforcement pack that the cars came with. So I was troubleshooting. I thought my game was crashing because the flags were, a little different. I just found out that I had a police bike within the GTA 4 IDE vehicle line. So basically what I did was, you go into handling line configuration. Sorry, scratch that. The IDE file. So here we have it set, and basically, since the slots had changed for the vehicles, and there's no longer a police, a Pole Patriot Ford F-150 that is now a Tahoe. The Tahoe and the Pole Patriot slot on the new pack has the same settings as it did before, as it was a Pole Patriot. P Stockade. So basically, everything right here mirrors what's right here, except it's just kind of flip-flopped to match up with what's right here. Now, currently with the setting that I am using, because I was troubleshooting everything, I am using this vehicle's flags right here. As you'll notice, it's different. That's because these flags right here are different. These are actually what came with the car and the actual pack that was downloaded from the website from which you could say the editor had uploaded. So there wasn't any notable changes that I could immediately tell and how the vehicles are handling. If there is any input from within the clan, I will definitely change that if need be. So that's all that corresponds to. I do want to touch also real quick that there's these zeros here, and what those zeros mean is default dirt level. And basically that means that, if you've ever noticed you drive a car around for a while in the game, it gets dirty. Or if you've also spawned a car that had dirt on it, well, that's why. And some of the cars from the new pack had a 0.3 rating for the default dirt level. So they did spawn with some dirt. So I went ahead and changed that so they're all zeros, so that when the car spawned, they're all clean. Don't worry about that. Not worry about that. And of course, this is the vehicle slots. I'll go ahead and include all this into availability for the clan. And then I also want to touch, here's the handling lines. For the handling lines, we have our Crown Victoria Charger, Caprice, Taurus, Ford F-150. For future references, we are no longer using it at this moment. And then, of course, the Explorer, Expedition, and Tahoe or Stockade. So I'm going to go ahead and add Pole Pat and Pole Pat for option, because that seems to be a good place for the Ford F-150, and then I think the Tahoe is as a alternate as a Pole Patriot in the new pack. So, as you'll see, I think it's a monetary value. The overall settings, some of the settings and stuff and whatnot are very minute differences between the Ford F-150 and the Tahoe and all that stuff. So I'm just going to say that, save that. And basically how this works is you're going to go ahead and load up, your vehicle slots to see what they are. And then you're going to go into your main directory or wherever your handling line is that you will be using within the game. You're going to go ahead and locate it, which will be under your directory, the common folder, data, and it'll be under H for handling, or hotel, as you would say, and the what's the military name? Anyway, phonetic alphabet, that's what it is. So anyways, what you're going to do is you're going to open it up and you're going to scroll down to whichever vehicle or multiple vehicles it is you want to change. So in this case, if you want to change the FBI, in this case, the FBI is now the Caprice. So you're going to locate the Caprice handling line, which is going to be right here, and you're going to copy that line onto the FBI line of the handling line. And once you've copied and pasted everything, you're just going to go ahead and click save, and that'll go ahead and finish that, as well as the IDE files too. So again, you want to open up your directory, common, data, and you want to go all the way down to V for Victor, and you want to load up the vehicle's IDE file. And my game was crashing because I had the police bike in here and there was no image for it, so it was like missing a component, and the game didn't like it, and therefore it would crash. It's been crashing the last couple times I made a video for this whole thing as a whole. So you're going to go into the IDE file, and then you're going to find each corresponding vehicle, so like your P Stockade, your Pole Patriot, Police, and what you would do per each vehicle. I'm going to move this off to the side here, and you would open up your vehicle configuration folder, the vehicle configuration IDE file, and since in this new pack, like the FBI is like a Caprice, you're going to take this right here, this whole line, you're going to copy it, you're going to come over to your vehicle IDE file, you're going to find the FBI, you're going to copy it, and you're going to paste it. And so if things need to be changed, it'll all be provided for those within the clan. So that's what you want to do, is make sure you copy and paste all those and make sure everything corresponds correctly. So I'm going to go ahead and give a start on the game, and hopefully it starts. I've tried removing the PAL DLL files on here, and for some reason with them removed or added in, the social club loads up and it still works. When it's here, it doesn't give me any error, so I'm just going to go ahead and load up and get on with it. I also had the time set. I had changed the time previously, like earlier before I started work on this video. I changed the time in the game and I had frozen the time and the weather. So I think that also created an issue that when I loaded up the game, it was trying to load the previous time from the last time. So basically, when the game initially started, it was frozen on rainy weather in like the middle of the day. And then I saved it as sunny and nighttime the second time I went through. So when the game went to reload, it was already saved as sunny and nighttime. But and I think it was like the script hook, it was like the helper file or whatever. The weather was frozen, the time was frozen with the rain in the midday. So I think that was also creating an issue. I'm gonna go ahead and start this. So now we are started. I don't know if that's the rain, but I'm going to go ahead and just for sake of things put the God mode on. And I'm going to go ahead and turn... what is it? I want to turn PEDs off and... Let's see. Where is that at? I'm gonna unlock the map. So okay, I'm gonna go ahead and go outside here. So this is going to touch on the graphics. I'm just going to go ahead and...
I'm going to ram that asshole in a minute.
Oh, there it is. There it is. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and freeze this time. And as you notice, the graphics and everything are actually pretty good. I'm going to get away from that train, so it's quite noisy. As far as the weather, I know that sometimes when you add a map pack, or like, you know, like a graphics enhancer, and you have, you know, for example... Is it sunny? No, it was like sunny and windy is what that was saying too. So if I set it to raining, you'll notice it's gray and there's no red sky. So I'm just gonna make it quiet because it's really windy. And so everything, as you can see, is really smooth. The edges are smooth. The road textures, the sidewalk, everything's nice and clean. And you can see I have roughly 49.52 frames per second running on a NVIDIA GTX 750. It's not the Ti, it's just the 750 overclock edition with 1 GB of RAM. So with 1 GB of RAM, GDDR5 video RAM, that's actually pretty good for frames. So I'm gonna go ahead and spawn a car here, and I'm gonna go ahead and cover the lights. Now, if any of you are interested in the whole configuration for the graphics, let me know and I'll go ahead and send it your way. I'm trying to pre-configure that as we speak. So I'm gonna load up Police 2. And I'm just gonna go ahead and go over the lights here. I'm gonna go ahead and clock it back a little bit here for some. Freeze that time. And so what you're gonna do is you have the Papa key, you know, India, Oscar, Papa, or IOP, and then you have that little symbol, that squiggly line to the left, and then the squiggly line to the right, and then you have your pipe or your slash bar. The line next to the pipe bar to your left, the squiggly line that squiggles off to the right, if you press it without the Alt key, you're going to have your spotlights. Click it again, turns them off. If you hold down Alt plus that squiggly line key, it's going to turn your lights off. If you do the squiggly line to your left, it's going to turn on your static lights. I'm not sure what you would call them exactly, but I'm going to call them static because they are non-moving. They're just on static. You do that same key again, and it turns them off. You hold down Alt and that squiggly line, or the squiggly line to the left, and you have your interior red light. So it's like your map reading light. And then to turn your lights on and off, you have your Alt key, and that is the squiggly line to the right, and it turns your lights on and off. And then you also have your L line, which is basically I'm gonna call them your white strobe lights. And that's those lights right there. So Lima turns them on, turns them off. And then you have your Kilo, or your K key. Your Kilo key is going to be your hazard lights. Turns them on and off. And then you have your codes 1, 2, and 3. So you will go Alt J, 1, 2, 3. Oh, I'm sorry. That was backwards. So you're going to go 1, 2, 3. So J is code 1. J again is code 2. And J again is code 3. So 1, 2, 3. And what you'll notice here on those lights right there is you'll notice there's two strobe lights. And how you turn those off is by clicking the L key, L for Lima. So now all you have is your reds and blues. You want to turn those strobe lights back on, and you have them back on. And while you're in code 3, you can also turn on your hazard lights by pressing the K key. Now your hazards are on. And then, so I'm going to go ahead and just leave this on. Code, I'm going to go ahead and just make sure everything is code 3. And what you will do, if you want to go backwards, if you want to go back down to code 2 from code 3, is you'll go Alt key plus J. And now you're in code 3. Now you have your traffic signal, which is saying move over. I guess you could say move over to your left. Go into the left lane. And then you do Alt J one more time, and now you have your blinking hazard light, which is move over to the right. And then you can click K or Alt J to turn it off, and then you can click just K for your hazard lights. And then of course everybody knows their sirens. Y is your horn, and then of course you have T for your siren. And then when you go code 3, so that was T. So you have T. So you press it once, so that obviously changes your different codes. And that brings it down, and that pretty much covers all the lights and stuff. As you can see, the lights look really good. They look pretty realistic. For those of you that want the graphics, I'm gonna go ahead and show you the different weather effects here. So you have your time. This is what it'll look like in the time and sunny. Oh well, let me unfreeze the time. I'm gonna go ahead and turn off those white strobes. And of course you have your weather. So I'm gonna put it to like raining. That pretty much covers that. So that's pretty much the handling lines, the graphics if you want them. And speaking of my graphics, this is what my settings are on if you're curious. So I mean that's that's all medium, for medium graphics that looks pretty sharp. Go ahead and turn off that rain there. So overall, like, you can see the edges and everything is pretty smooth. The cars look sharp. So in a nutshell, that's pretty much the vehicle handling lines, the graphics, and all that stuff in a nutshell, as well as of course the lights, how everything works. Your inside light, your strobe light, your spotlight, all that stuff. So yeah, hope y'all like it.